Here we are in early November, and it's only been a few weeks since the Atari Gamestation Go for My Arcade started shipping. And already there is a new firmware preparing to release to improve your system. I'm going to tell you when to get it, how to get it, and what improvements you can expect. That's next.
Keys of Fury is a brand new retro action beat-em-up typing game. Think Typing of the Dead meets Streets of Rage and you've got Keys of Fury. Whether you're a beginner typist or a 100 words per minute expert, Keys of Fury will leave you feeling like a typing master of key food. Hitting Steam for just $5 November 24th. Wish list now or purchase at keysoffury.com.
Hey there, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John, I am a GenXGrownUp. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video, and I know you didn't click on the video to see me. You saw that thumbnail that said, hey, the Atari Gamestation Go has got a new firmware, 1.1, and you want to see what's going to be in this new firmware. Now, as I record this, the firmware is almost available. Not quite, it's coming very shortly. At the end of this video, I'm going to share with you when you can expect to get it on your Gamestation Go. And I have to tell you, being so quick on the heels of the release, it's barely released, it's only just been out a few weeks, seeing My Arcade already responding to observations and criticisms and bug complaints and things like that, and getting out a new firmware to us within a matter of weeks versus months, I think that speaks volumes to their commitment to this device as a platform. And I hope that continues. But what I want to share with you are all the things that I've been able to observe are improved in this. And if you watch my review, which I'll link up in the corner if you want to see it, if you watch my review, the software for me was the weakest part of the system. There were just a number of things that weren't quite there. And while I don't think this new firmware fixes everything, it goes a long way in the right direction and shows us what My Arcade's gonna be doing as it moves forward. Let's get to the table. Let me show you this stuff. Now, for starters, how to update your GSG to the latest firmware is just about as easy as falling backwards off a wet rock. If you're already connected to your local Wi-Fi hotspot, you're liable to get a pop-up that says, do you want to download the latest firmware? But if you don't, or if you're trying to look for it, you're waiting for it to appear, go over to the settings menu, pop down to update, go down to software update, where you will see the current version you're on, which is likely 1.0 if you're watching this, relatively early in the life of the Gamestation Go. Go over and click on that update button, and if there is in fact an update, you'll be prompted, would you like to update? Yes, we would. Just hit A and wait. That's it. After you spend a little time watching this progress meter, the Gamestation Go is going to restart, and when it does, if you want to verify that the update was successful, pop over back to the same menu to the update section, and you'll now see you're on firmware version 1.1. Back in the days of the Gamestation Pro, I had a whole video showing you how to update the firmware. It's really just a quick section here because it's so easy to do. Just click and wait, and you're done. Now, through the miracle of having two Gamestation Go's here in my studio to work with, I have this one running the old version 1.0 firmware, and then I have this one with Paul's Cool Super Spinner on the spinner running 1.1 firmware. So we'll be able to go back and forth and look at the specific changes that are made in 1.1 that I've noticed, at least so far. And the changes start to become obvious pretty quickly when you fire it up. Right on the main menu, you can see there's been a redesign, kind of the color scheme. And it's not just the color scheme. Yes, we have these darker hues, and we have kind of fades to black on the edges, which makes it a little less candy colored looking. Instead, you have these hues that are a bit darker and more mature, maybe I would say. Also, the slide is gone so that it quick snaps to the next item on the menu. And it means you can get through the menu much more quickly. Now let me show you by comparison. On the original 1.0 firmware, you kind of had this solid wash of red, orange, blue, green, whatever color, and you had this slide effect, which I always thought was a little confusing because you had two of them on the screen at once. Like there's Jalico and there's the big Jalico, and you can't move through the menus as quickly. With the new one, it looks nicer, to my eye at least, and it's quicker to navigate the menu. Now, there have been a bunch of little changes that we likely won't spot on a first pass here looking at 1.1. I know there have been updates to metadata, so when you dive into a game and you look at all the information and the settings, and lots of little tweaks and changes and fixes to typos and stuff like that. I really want to focus on the things that have the biggest impact, the things that have the largest changes. And let's start over here, let's work our way across, start on Atari Recharged. So now I know people have reported some stability problems with some of the recharged games. I know My Arcade is working on that and looking at it. They started here with, when you're in the menu, used to be there was no instructions for these games. There was no Y button. See, the Y button is lit up here. But on 1.0, no Y button. no menu to go to, no more information. If you tap Y on the new firmware, though, you get the full range of information you would about all the other Atari games, or Pico, or Jalico, or anything. You get controls information, you get gameplay information, the different variations, expert tips, and for all the different recharged games. So improvement, now we talked about metadata. This is not just improvement in metadata, this is a creation of metadata that didn't exist before at all. Now, next I would like to talk about some specific games that I even called out in my review that were problematic, either in how they were implemented or what controls they used. Some that, frankly, were almost shouldn't have been included here without the right controls. So let me dive into Atari, go to my favorites, my beloved Indy 500. Now, you may recall that Indy 500 did not utilize the spinner control. The one Atari 2600 that could have benefited from the spinner control was not implemented. So if I go into settings here, let's see what we see. Spinner, steer. Look at that. You can still use the D-pad. Who in the right mind is going to want to use the D-pad? But now the spin. Okay, I can't wait. I got to try it. There's my car. That is the way you play Indy 500. Thank you, my arcade. You know, without having a spinner here and having Indy 500 not use it was just about an insult. It was like, hey, you know how much you love this game? You see you have a spinner there? You're not allowed to use it. Neener. But now, yeah. This is the way it's meant to be played. Man, I can't wait to play some multiplayer Indy 500 with a second controller and... okay. Let's move along. Still in my favorites, I'm going to pop down to the arcade version of Tempest. Now, let me remind you what Tempest looked like under version 1.0. Yeah, is this ringing a bell? Aspect ratio, wonky. Parts of the screen, see the top of the words up there, the high scorer? You can't read all the letters. The vectors are kind of anemic. It was very frustrating in my review. Tempest, again, like Indy 500, you have a spinner. The first thing I want to do, and by the way, playing with this little spinner after playing with Paul's big super spinner, crazy difference. Okay, let's go to the new firmware. Oh, the difference is day and night. Look how much brighter and thicker those vector beams are. Look at the correct aspect ratio. Look how much better this game just feels. You can read, and by the way, after a firmware update, notice my high score up there, GXG. High score didn't go anywhere. That's preserved across firmware updates. My arcade has made smart moves with this device. I see criticism. It's not all things to all people. But man, in the effort that they're putting in and listening to criticisms and not just going, well, it's the best we can do. No, they're working clearly, busting their butt in the lab, going, well, what can we fix next for players? What's most important to Atari fans? What do people that buy a GameStation Go care about? They care about Tempest vectors looking good. They care about the aspect ratio. I didn't think Tempest could get any more fun on this. I didn't know how much the weak vectors and the bad aspect was affecting my enjoyment, but it did. And I can tell you, my satisfaction with Tempest has gone up about 200%. Not to mention how nice this ball feels. Good job, Paul. All right, let's move on. Here's the arcade classic Major Havoc as it appeared in version 1.0 of the firmware. Kind of weak vectors, kind of slim. You can read all the lines at least, but most notably, you cannot use the spinner to control, as was the case on the original. You'll see the spinner is disabled there. So, what did they do in the new version? Here's Major Havoc under 1.1. Look how much more robust the vectors look. Thicker beam width, much clearer to look at. And if we go in the settings, by the way, spinner control is now available. You can still use the trackball, you can still use the D-pad if you want, but spinner control is available. So throw in a credit, hit start. There's my little guy. Just much clearer, much more robust, brighter. I can play my little Breakout game down there while I'm waiting. Oh, missed it. Okay. That's the way it's meant to be done. Look at that. That's the way Major Havoc was meant to be. Now, I think Major Havoc didn't have a spinner. It had a little, like a barrel. It was like a two-dimensional spinner, but it works just fine here in the same way. To control my little guy, move him around, get him to jump. Ooh, come back. Jump. Oh, come on. I was never great at this. Jump. Oh, I gotta hold the button, right? Jump, and then spin. There we go. Now I'm on it. Yep. Go, little guy. Go, little guy. Go this way. There we go. Now get out. Jump. Oh, I fell. Anyway, you get the idea. Major Havoc now playable. Oh, the way it was supposed to be. Am I going to get out of here? Am I going to actually do it? Oh, I might. I was about to give up and tell you let's move on to the next game, but then I think I got better. Yay, I did it. I'm going to get right back to this new firmware in a second. I'm going to take just a moment here to mention that if you've ever watched one of these videos and enjoyed the work that we do here at GenXGrownUp and thought, man, I would love to buy John or George or Mo a beer, but we just don't live in the same area, and I just can't do that, would you please consider channeling that beer money into supporting us over on Patreon? If you go to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp, you can sign up to support us with a regular monthly pledge of as little as $1 a month and help ensure that we stay solvent and we can continue to deliver these sorts of videos to you regularly. We try to give you as much extra bonus content, outtakes from the podcast and all that sorts of stuff, but we really, really need and appreciate supporters to supplement what is not really a living wage off of YouTube. We're grateful for those who do support us, and if you'd like to consider it, head over and check us out again on patreon.com/GenXGrownUp. Thank you, at least, for your consideration. Let's get back to it. Now, here's one that was pointed out to me by a GenXGrownUp viewer who caught me on the floor at PRGE in Portland a few weeks ago. And he said, iRobot doesn't tell you how to handle the view change. So what you may not know is in iRobot, you can adjust the camera up and down by using the Player 1, Player 2 start. It's on the cabinet. You can see if you look at an original cabinet, but it isn't explicit here. And here's an example of something that was done to clarify the game for you. So let me go ahead and get this started. Yeah, so when you're in the view, you can use Player 1, Player 2 Start, which are here, but it doesn't tell you that if you don't already know. And one of the benefits of the GameStation Go is with Smart Glow and things like that, it makes things more obvious. So yeah, I can change my view up and I can change my view down. It's possible, but it wasn't documented. Here in the 1.1 firmware, same thing, except it's very clear to the user. The change view up and down is there with Player 1 Start and Player 2 Start. The function hasn't changed, just making it more clear for a user who may not know iRobot that well that these buttons are going to do more than just game start. Now here's one that I didn't have a problem with, but apparently enough people did. So I found that the spinner in Super Breakout in the arcade worked great here, and I even played some of it in my review, and the fact that you can pick which version you want to play. But you can use the D-pad or the spinner, and so Super Breakout is such a seminal title that they want to, I guess, improve on the experience of that for as many users as possible. So here in version 1.1, they've removed the D-pad support, not breaking my heart, and it's all done with the spinner. So ideally what you're going to have is a better experience using the spinner by getting rid of the D-pad. It was a compromise they made for flexibility. Let's see, which one do I want? I like that one. Okay. So apparently it's better control. Oh, it's finer. It's a little finer control. All right. Whoop. Whoop. I'm busy playing with this spinner. All right. I mean, it was fine before, but it does feel a little more refined here. All right. Well, good on you, my arcade. Here's another Vector arcade game improvement. We have Black Widow here. Man, look how anemic the vectors are. Half the webs are broken. You can't see the tops of some of the letters in 1.0. And what about in 1.1? What a difference! Look how much sharper and clearer and brighter the vector, simulated vector, obviously, looks here in the game compared to what it looked like in 1.0. And oh my goodness, I don't want to do that. Start to begin. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Look how much better this is. Oh my goodness. It's ridiculous. It just looks so much better. My arcade, thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for responding so quickly. Wow. Now, there's surely plenty more that I missed, but I got to spend some time here on Pac-Man because there was not a thing in this menu that I thought was executed properly. So let's hop in. Let me remind you. First of all, the classic and sped up mode of Pac-Man were not the arcade originals. They were these ports. Let's jump in. I'll show you. First of all, aspect ratio, a little square, not vertical enough. It's not a pure 3x4, but put it in credit. Oh, it's not the original. If you have an arcade ear, if you were around, it's just, we can tell it's like that. It's like the joystick player version. ugh, it's just not, you know, interestingly, some reviewers got a different firmware that had the arcade versions, but the retail release did not. Oh, and the ghost sounds. Okay, there's that. Then, remember we jumped into the 2600 and what did it look like? Squished and ugly. And you could even go into the settings, right? And you could say, make the aspect wide. And as I noted in my review, all that does is make it a different flavor of wrong. It's just really fat. And no, other than adding the game yourself, you could not get the right aspect ratio of Pac-Man from the built-in version. What about in 1.1? First of all, this faded menu here, the navigation is faster, as I said, but it just looks so much nicer and sharper and more polished. It's funny that what a little gradient can do. Let's jump in. Classic mode, speed up mode, of course. Let's jump into classic. You gotta listen. You gotta listen. Let's see. What about the aspect? It's more vertical, I think. It's not quite as square. I'm not sure it's a perfect square. It looks better. It looks better to me. Let's put in a token. Ah, beautiful. That is Pac-Man. Oh, the difference. Oh, like he's coming out. Oh, so much better. Oh, how about a fruit? The right sounds. Look, and it's not just a matter of interpretation any longer. They swapped this out clearly for the correct arcade ROM. And now every little thing about it feels, sounds, looks, behaves the way it's supposed to. Speed up mode, same thing. It's the correct ROM with the speed up chip. What about what about our beloved 82 Todd Fry Pac-Man? Let's see, did you fix that? You did. Lovely. Nice. Love it or hate it, now it's accurate. Now when you go to play it, even if it's just for nostalgia, to remember what you loved or hated about it, it's correct. Those are little things that matter to nerds like me, to nerds like you probably. If you're busy watching a handheld Atari firmware update video, you probably care as well. And as it seems, my arcade appears to care as well. All right, I can hear you asking, fine, John, 1.1 is something I want. When can I get my little paws on it and get it on my Atari Gamestation Go? Great news. As I drop this video in the afternoon, the Firmware 1.1 is going to come available for all retail systems later tonight, in just a few hours. So, look, you could keep hitting refresh if you want on that update button, but in the morning, when you get up, check, or maybe look at when this video was posted. Maybe it's been the next day since then. Fire up your Gamestation Go, look for that new update, download it. It's seamless, it's easy, your high scores and settings are preserved, your favorites are preserved, and you're gonna get all these benefits and more that probably I didn't even discover. We'll hear about from you as you further explore this new firmware 1.1. Look, I'm gonna throw links to some other Gamestation Go related videos you can watch right now over my shoulders here and here. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video. I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.